is the animation that we had been working on. And I would consider this done. For the stylistic choice that we went, like, this is done. I could polish some more, I could add some more like little details on the frills and stuff, but for kind of the purposes of this animation, we can call it done. This is the thing with animation, is you can always add more. At some point you just have to go, okay, moving on. So at this point we have the shot, like I said, it's on 3s and 4s. So for example, the first pose right here holds for 3 frames. Frame 1, 2, 3, then it changes 4. So we have 4, 5, that's on 2s, 6, 7, 8, that's on 2s. Then we have 3s right here. So we have all of these on different timings. So 2s, 3s, 4s. Totally fine. And you can see it reads pretty well. Now, as I was watching this yesterday, I was thinking, what if I wanted to put this on 2s? So instead of having all of this variation where we have like all of this change, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. What if I want everything on 2s? I don't want to spline it, because splining essentially goes into 1s, and then essentially I can just start refining the splines. But what if I wanted to keep it in step mode and put it onto 2s, very specifically? How would I go about approaching that? And with that, how would I also have to readdress some of the polish we've done? Because we've done the hair, we've done the clothing, we've done all of these little things. If I have to go back to adding breakdowns, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna approach that? I'm not sure if this is gonna be helpful to anyone, really, like this process. But it is something that we kind of have to do, is like add more keys and add breakdowns. Even after a polish pass, we have to kind of go back and put more poses in. So hopefully it'll be helpful to some people. And more specifically, if you do want to make a stylized animation, just kind of show the visual difference between something that's on 2s, 3s, and 4s, and then something on 2s. And then maybe if we have time, I'll take that 2s version and then we'll spline it out, and then kind of have 3 different versions that we can look at. So that's going to be the goal for today's stream, is just kind of seeing that process. Now, there's going to be a lot of breakdowns that I'm going to have to add in if I want to get this on 2s. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it all on stream, honestly. Like, at this point, you've all seen the process. We'll see how fast it goes. I'm hoping to be able to do it all on stream, because at this point you've seen every single process of this animation. There's nothing that I've done outside of the stream that like you haven't seen. Everything's been on stream. So we'll see. So that's the goal for today. And Noelia, hello! And Sammy Boy, hello, how's it going? So let's jump right in. Now, as usual, if anyone has questions or other demo requests or things like that, definitely let me know and I'd be happy to answer. So let's actually just jump into Maya here. So I think I have, yeah, there it is. So here's our shot in Maya. And let me actually open up the GUI picker here, because it'll make it a lot easier to select all the controls. Okay. So we've got our animation here, and if we select our controls, you can see our timing right there on the timeline. And you can see the first section here, this is on 3s, then we have 2, 2, and then 4, 4, 3, 3, 4, 3, 2, 2, 2. So there's a lot of weird timing in there. Once again, is that bad? No, because 4s just mean things hold a little longer and kind of exaggerate certain sections. 2s are a little faster between poses. There's nothing wrong with this as long as it reads correctly and reads smoothly. That's the important thing. If it feels like there's a motion that stops, freezes, and then continues, that would feel bad. So, we technically don't need to add more for the stylistic thing that we're doing here. But let's say we want to get it on 2s. How would we approach this? Well, there's a few different ways we could do it. The first one, and I've talked about this method a little bit in the past, is we could spline out our animation, get it all on 1s, and then bake it out. Bake out all of the animation onto 2s. So it basically deletes our keys and replaces them with everything on 2s. That could work, but on some frames we're going to lose the pose that we created very specifically, and Maya is going to be in charge. The other way to think about this is, what if this was a 2D animation? What if this was actually animated in 2D and we don't have the ability to just bake out our animation? We have to just add more in there. Well, this is the approach I'm going to take. What if I want to keep everything that I did and I just want to add into it? So, there's certain sections that are going to be very easy. Like these sections here that are on 4s, right there. That's going to be easy. Add a key in between. So 8 to 12, we put a key on 10. 12 to 16, put a key on 14. Done. Everything's on 2s in that section. But what about the sections on 3s? We can't really just put a key in between because, for example, from 16 to 19, if we put a key on 17, well, now 16 to 17 is on 1s. If I put it on 18, 18 to 19 is on 1s. So what do I do? How do I make this work? Well, at this point, essentially what we need to do is just do a little bit of retiming tweaking. And keep in mind that 1 frame is not a lot of time, and most people never catch it. So essentially what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be moving certain frames just a nudge over to make my 3s, any section that's in 3s, into 2s or 4s. So let me kind of show what I mean right there. So let's say we have this section right here. So from 16 to 19 and then 19 to 22, those are all on 3s. Well, if I move this key on frame 19, either to the left or the right, let's say we move it to the left, that'll mean that this first section is going to be 16 to 18 on 2s, and then 18 to 22 on 4s. There you go. Just by moving this 1 key, 1 nudge left or right, I'll get it ready to be broken down even more. Now, is that bad? Well, not really, as long as we push it in the right direction. The big thing to keep in mind is that this is 1/24th of a second. It's super, super fast. So pushing it 1 frame, most people will never really register that much of a change in it. It'll just kind of stylistically feel a little different. The other thing to keep in mind is that we're going to be adding a breakdown, which will be changing the feeling anyway. So, not too bad. Now, the other thing we have to just keep in mind is, where are we going to add more time? Between which 2 poses do we need to add another breakdown? So, to explain that, we've got frame 16 here, 19, and then 22. Do we want to add a new pose between these 2 poses here, or between these 2? And this is where you just have to kind of imagine your spacing, imagine how you want to kind of exaggerate this. If we put a pose in between these 2, so between 16 and 19, if we look at that arm, that's kind of the big motion of this moment. It's going to move forward, and then from here to there, there's going to be a pose between there. So it'll ease in and then hit out faster. So it'll go fast, hold, fast. Is that what we want? That's not necessarily a bad thing. But for this motion, I just want a quick swoop through. So I don't want to pose between these 2 frames. I want to pose between these 2. so we can get that nice ease in and that nice foot contact in there. So now that I know that, I'll just make sure I have all my controls selected, take my frame on 19, boop, frame 18. Done. 2s and 4s. There we go. The very beginning here, we've got this pose on 3s. Well, let's add another breakdown in there. So I'll just take all of this, move it over 1 frame. There you go. That first section is now on 4s. And I'll just go through my animation like this, look for any section that is on 3s, and just give a little bit of a timing tweak in there. So now we have 3, 3, and then this is, on 3s, 3s. So this whole section here is on 3s. So I just have to do a little bit of retiming. So let's see. Once again, I'm just going to look at my spacing, see where I want to add a pose in between. I could probably add a pose between... See, I like that fast motion there. So probably a pose between these two. This is going to be, if I put a pose between these two, this is going to be way too fast. Then maybe a pose between this pose and this pose. Yeah, I want to keep this motion fast here. So if I put a key, or if I take this key here and move it 1 over right there, this section is going to be a little faster, and then we'll be able to add a breakdown in here. Is that what I want? Let me double check. No, I want it the other way. This way. So this, I'm going to add a pose between these two. This holds. I want to add a breakdown between these two, so I'll just move this key over like so. Now we go through there. And then at the end, we want to make sure we hold for 4 frames, so boop, right there. There you go. Whole shot is now on 4s and 2s. No 3s. At least I don't think so. Oh wait, there's a 3. Tricky 3. So this one, I'm just gonna have to move the whole animation, the whole end of it, either 1 frame forward or 1 frame back. And I think for this, let's add 1 frame. I think. Remove 1 frame. Let's try removing 1 frame. That way we're adding less breakdowns. Okay. So at this point, I think everything's good. So let's hit play and see what we've got. There you go. Now visually, there's not a huge change in the animation because we've only done 1 frame here and there. It's definitely going to be a little different. Some sections are going to be a little faster, a little slower. But overall, it should feel pretty much the same. The main area that I'm feeling is right in here. This is definitely feeling a little slow now. And kind of sharp. Like I feel the holds happening a little bit more. So I might make this a little faster. Right here. The way her arm comes up, that's taking 4 frames right now. That's a little too much. So I'm just going to take all of this and let's bring it back 2 frames. Let's see how that feels. Yeah, that feels a little better. So Yeah. So now we get a little bit of a fast motion hold, fast motion hold. Let's see, and let me just double check that. Yeah, I forgot about that. This rig, the GUI picker, one control doesn't get moved along with the rest. This one here. Okay, so this is fun. What happens when you forget a control? This is always something you should double check when you're retiming things. And especially when you're using a GUI picker. I hit the select all button on the GUI picker. It didn't actually select all. It missed one of the controls on the dress. Great. How do I retime that back into place? Well, this is when the dope sheet comes in handy. You could also use the graph editor, but the graph editor I find a little visually dense to do this. So if you open up your dope sheet, it's basically a super timeline. And I can just take this, find the one channel that's off, which is probably going to be right at the bottom. Let's see, where are you? So many controls. Okay. Okay, it looks like quite a few controls got missed. Okay. Dang it. Okay. So because there's so many controls that got missed, let's actually go back to the graph editor. If it was one, it would have been fine, but at this point, this is actually going to be a little easier because we can see them a little bit more clearly. So with this, I'm just going to start retiming these controls, and essentially what I have to do is just remember which keys I moved where. So for example, I remember that I added one frame at the beginning, so this pose will go forward. That means this one will have to go forward, and so will this one, and everything kind of just goes forward one frame. Now this one here will go back, I believe. Oops, not too far. This one, this is where it gets a little trickier now that we're in the middle. Let's see. Now what can help with this is, let's actually have both windows open. This is where multiple monitors will help. So the problem is I'm not sure whether I should move it left or right. Which key is missing? So let's actually just bring this up here. And we're going to scroll down. Find, did I pass it? No. Find those controls. Okay, there we go. And right here, I can definitely see it has to move back. So, doop, move it back. And then this has to be moved forward. This one forward. Forward. Wait, is that right? No, not right. I think I mistimed one of them. Okay. Let's actually start from the end. We know this has to go back. Which this means that goes back. Okay, that's why. So essentially what's happening is I have to retime like both of these back. Okay. So at this point, this is a bigger problem because now I have to be able to select these, and that's going to be much harder. So my best bet here would be to just undo till everything is in line. I could technically just fudge it and make sure that everything visually is fine and don't worry about it, but I wouldn't trust it. So For now, it's easier just to reset it, and honestly, I could just reopen the scene. We didn't go that far, and just quickly retime this. Now, this is kind of a, what would be the right word? A learning moment, we'll put it that way. When you're doing your retiming, always double check that you have everything selected first. The last thing you want to do is, like, this is a short animation. Retiming is going to take a few seconds just to get everything back into place. When you are doing a big, massive retime, double check that you have everything selected. Move something and then drag through your timeline, double check, make sure. The last thing you want is to forget like one tiny eye control, and then it messes up the entire eye animation on your whole shot. Because at some point you're gonna have to redo that, and that means either redoing all the timing, which could really suck, or if it's gone on too long and you have to, like, you can't undo, you have to redo that animation, which that's not fun. So just double check. So in this case, I'm going to select all on the GUI picker, and then make sure to click and drag to select everything in the viewport. And from here, let's just quickly retime. So we added one frame at the beginning. Right here, we retimed this frame so that it's faster in the middle. So it goes faster here, and then we can add a breakdown there. This pose, I think we removed one frame. I kind of want to add one frame. I kept feeling like there was a little bit of a hitch there, and I kind of want to add a little bit more of a hold before the next motion. Today I deleted my animation shot. It got really messed up. That's really sucks when you're working and then suddenly it gets messed up and you just have to delete things, or you accidentally delete things and it messes things up. Let's see. What do you recommend to select the controllers? Example, ARM, IK, FK. Sometimes they're hidden. So the best thing to do for most shots is to have a GUI picker, essentially this, that you can just hit one button and it selects everything. That's really good. Don't trust GUI pickers completely though, because like in this one of the controls isn't being selected. Actually, two of the controls. It's not selecting the root control by default either. This big one here. So always double check. The other way, if you are getting those switches, is to just select all the controls, click and drag, then drag in your timeline to when the arm switches, and then add to your selection. Hold down Control Shift, drag, add to your selection, and just select all your controls that way. Once you have everything selected, go to Create, Sets, Quick Select Set. So I could do that right now. Quick Select Set, I'll call this All, and then I'll hit Add to Shelf. Now, if ever I need to select everything, just hit that, done. So it takes a little bit to make sure you have everything selected in the first place, but then you're good to go. And you don't need a GUI picker or something like that. Okay, so next section is these keys right here, and I just need to move 2 keys and I should be good. Let's see. Actually, I think this might need to go back 2 frames. There we go. Okay. And then this one was a key. I wanted to hold this pose longer. And then what was the other? Add a key between these two. So something like that. Now, technically, I could remove 1 or 2 frames at the beginning, but I think for now, we'll do that. There we go. Done. So you can see it. It's now all set correctly. So it didn't take too long to retime it all. Oh, wait. No, wait, I missed one. I want that motion. I don't really want to break down in between these two, so there we go. Now it should be all on 4s. And the clothing, it's matching all of the animation. Everything moves on the exact same frames. The poses, the hair, the clothing. So it's all moving on 2s and 4s now. So right here, I feel like this pose, as I'm playing through, right here, this holds too long. I'm reading it too much. Now, is that a bad thing? Not necessarily, because I will be adding a breakdown into it. Yeah, I think as much as I feel like it's holding too much, the breakdown should solve that. And, well, actually, no, wait. Because see how the hand comes through here? It eases out, then it goes fast, right there, and then goes fast there, and eases in. If I add a breakdown here, it could work. Yeah, it could work. I'll just have to be very careful how the arm motion goes. Let's actually just, as a test, I'm going to retime this a couple of frames. Just see how that feels. Yeah, I kind of like that more. It keeps the arm swing just swooping through. And it's one less pose that I have to do. Yay! So I kind of like that. Now, always keep in mind, like, as you're watching it in the viewport, this is not going to be like the exact perfect timing here. You don't want to trust the viewport too much. We're just using this as a guide, and you always want to check your frame rate in the bottom corner there. Turn that on when you're trying to look at frame rate in your animation in the viewport. So go to display, heads up display, and turn on frame rate right there. If you see that dropping below 24 frames, make a play blast. So I'm actually going to do that right now, and we're going to compare. So I'm going to do a play blast. This is going to be number 8. And what I'm going to do is I just want to compare the old animation to this new retimed version and just see how different does it feel. Honestly, we shouldn't feel too much of a difference. So this is the old one with the gray. So we've got that. Let's look at the new one. Doesn't feel that different. Even if let's put this side by side. So that's going to be an A, that's going to be in B. And where is it again? Viewer, no, let's do vertical. Okay. So you can see our timing changes right here, how one pose is changing at they're all just changing at slightly different times now. So let's hit play. It's not that different. Like when you put it at speed, it almost feels the same. This is the beauty of animating on like 2s, 4s, and 3s, is that because we're a lot of times just dealing with 1/24th of a second, a little change here and there, as long as we do it in the right spot, won't be recognized. If you move that one frame in the wrong spot though, so if you make a fast motion that's supposed to be just quick and you add a frame to make it like pause in the middle, that's when you'll notice things. So you just have to watch your spacing. That's the important bit here. So I think we're pretty good there. Yeah. So, yay, it works. So let's take this and I'm gonna save it. Okay. So with that, let's see. And Lemon Master, hello. And hello. So I did see a question before we start going into the breakdowns here, because that's going to start taking a little bit of time. I did see a request for me to take a look at their work. I can take a quick look now because I don't want to get too far off track from the animation here. But I can take a quick look now, and then like just a few minutes, if that's okay. So if you have a link, definitely feel free to post it. I do want to make sure that I don't hold the end for so long here. So 61, this should end on 65. 4 frames. There we go. I could technically put it to 66. I should probably put it to 66. So I'll have a few more breakdowns here. The reason being I want a little bit more settle. This was always something that bothered me anyway in the animation, is you can see how the sleeve never drops right there. So she ends this pose and it just kind of freezes part way. I want to let it drop down and settle nicely. See, Gosblade, I'm part of the no sleep gang now, going on 32. Oh geez, 32 hours. Get some sleep. Yes, that's terrible. To be fair, I got how much, 2.5 hours of sleep last night ish, 2.5, something like that. So I'm almost there with you. For anyone here, get some sleep. Make sure you get your sleep. It's good for you. You don't want to do all-nighters and stuff. It's just not good. Well, occasionally, once in a while, it's fine. But if you're doing it consistently, that's going to really ruin your health. Let's see, I went to your Thursdaily, but I would like another look if it's not an issue. I can take a really quick look. So that's not a problem. Just post the link and I'll look at it right away. And then we'll start breaking this down. Now, okay, perfect. There's the link. So let's jump into this super quick. And then we'll start breaking things down. Okay, nice. Yeah, that's already feeling much better. You're getting a lot more weight in the character. Right here, as he steps forward, watch this foot. It's slipping back a little too much. If he's really heavy, that foot wouldn't slip. It would just kind of push off the ground. Imagine like as he's pushed into the ground, he's going to sink a little bit. So it's going to add a little bit more traction. Kind of the same thing here. Watch how the foot slides right there, especially. It holds still, and then just kind of slides right there. Let it drag a little bit more. Hold it still for maybe 1 or 2 more frames. So it kind of stays there, stays there, stays there. Maybe 1 more frame, and then ease it out. This way we feel like the leg is trying to hold on and then gets dragged forward, instead of right now it kind of feels like the body just moves and then everything kind of slides together. That should add a lot more weight in there. Okay, as he falls here, I think you could add a little bit more weight into the arms. It's definitely feeling a lot better. So to add more weight in the arms is just watching the spacing as they come down. You can see how the arms slow down and then speed up right through here. The arm should almost be a constant, or just a nice ease out. Just have them drop and then swoop through. So it'll be more of, let's see. So let's do it over here. So we're going from here to here. It'll be ease out, and then ease in like that. So that's a little linear here. Let's kind of push that a little bit. So a little bit more like that. So you're just trying to get the nice ease out and then fast at the end. If it's slowing down right here and then suddenly speeding up, it makes it feel like the arm kind of wants to crash through. And then right here, I think you could kind of push it for, well, actually, no, that works pretty well. I think you could maybe push the arc in just a little bit more. As he gets hit, that feels good. Don't have this frame here where he's going forward. If he's getting hit by this bolt, he's going to be moving backwards with the bolt. If it moves forward, it makes it feel like he's being hit in his stomach. So make sure that the head goes back right here. And then the hand shouldn't react at all. You just want the body to react. The impact frame it could almost be a smear where everything kind of stays. Wonderful hand pose there. So here, this arm right there is going to stay essentially in place. And the big thing that's going to change is where does he get hit? So you're going to get a little bit, I'm going to exaggerate this here, of this. So excuse the terrible drawings, but that motion there where the hands, you can maybe have just a tiny little bit of a motion right through there, but the big motion we get is in the head, and then you go into what you have there and then have everything else react. And as he reacts, this hand should drag a little bit more. So let the body start going back. Try to get a curve in the body as well here. So you're getting kind of this motion. So really feel like it's hitting right through there and the line weight is pushing onto that side there. And as he catches himself here, watch that this foot doesn't lose its momentum right through here. See how it just stops and goes straight down? Keep it going backwards a little bit more. And then the other foot, don't do this with it. If he's heavy, that's a very big motion. It should be a very quick foot plant. I would maybe hold this foot on the ground 2 more frames. Hold it for 2 more frames, and then just do that just a very quick foot adjustment. The longer it is, the more floaty he feels. If anything, it's going to be more of a slide than an actual lift. And then watch this arm. It kind of swings back and forth, just kind of hovers there, and then goes down to the ground. Have it swing, come back, and then hit. So essentially your arc for the arm is going to do this, that, versus what's happening now is it does this, kind of flattens out, and then comes down. And have it hit a little bit sooner. If you look at his head, it's going down kind of at the same speed as his head. So maybe have the hand contact 1 or 2 frames sooner. As he takes off here, it would be cool to see some change in the body. So as he takes off, maybe by the end here, the feet are just a little closer together. Just a little. So silhouette-wise, the negative space, we close it through. So you're just looking at this space here, making sure that as it comes through to the end, it's just a little different. Maybe the feet are closer together. You could even have it separate a little bit, some change in there. And if he's kind of going in an arc this way, try to get the feet to angle in that way as well. So right now the feet are pointing this way as if he's thrusting forward, but he's moving this way, which feels a little weird. So use the feet to get that arc in there. So you can start in this direction, but then the feet will rotate and the chest will rotate, the hips will rotate to allow for that move screen right. Otherwise, he should move screen left. Yeah, so those would be my main notes for you on that. So hopefully that helps. And Bittersweet, hello! So sleep is important to do an animation, makes the brain fresh to think new ideas. Yes, sleep is very, very important. We love our drunken sensei. I get drunk on lack of sleep. Not on alcohol. I don't even drink alcohol. But lack of sleep, oh. I'm an addict. I need my AA meeting on lack of sleep. What would it be? It would be Insomniacs Anonymous? Or what is it? Alcohol. Yeah. Insomniacs IA. Let's see, I want to ask something. Like, I'm not a sleeper kind of guy, but how do you deal with sleep deprivation side effects like chronic fatigue? You need to make changes to your lifestyle, essentially. So if you know that you're getting like chronic fatigue and you suffer from all of these symptoms from it, you need to make changes to your lifestyle. So let's say, for example, you mentioned you don't like to sleep, or you can't sleep a full night. I was like that for a while, where I just couldn't sleep a full night. It just didn't work well for me. I ended up feeling more tired than I did if I slept just a few hours. Well, in that case, just try to get some naps in during the day. So you sleep however much you can at night, and then take like a 20 to even a 2-hour nap, somewhere within that range during the day, maybe even 2 naps during the day. Use it as your break. So you're animating, you're working. Okay, time to take a break. I'm just going to lie down, close my eyes, try to sleep. It's going to be hard at the beginning, but that's going to help quite a bit. And Trango Bo, thank you so much for the sub. Oh, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, so the main thing is making lifestyle choices. Try to eat better. Try to take more breaks from work. Whatever you can. And everyone's a little different with this, so there's no like global answer. For me, it was making sure that I just got away from work. I would work like at my computer and on my animations at my job. Essentially just almost 24/7. I never had days off. I would just work and work and work and work and work until I burnt out. And I still do that once in a while. I have to catch myself every so often. But the big thing is make those changes. For me, it was taking some breaks, putting some time off. I don't really have a day off. I actually work pretty much 7 days a week, but at least make sure I have a few hours set aside on certain days to just relax and go, okay, I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to do something for me. Exercise. That helps a lot as well. not only does exercise tire you out, which is great, but it helps to release endorphins, which makes you feel better. And it doesn't have to be big, heavy exercises, but just getting up and going for a walk. If you have a Switch, get that Ring Fit game. I know a few friends who have it and they love it. It's actually getting them very fit just using that Ring Fit game. It's surprisingly difficult, apparently. I actually just bought it just because I want to try it out, and I don't have time to try it, unfortunately. But one day I'll get fit. But do something like that where it's more of a game than anything. If you have a VR headset, play some Beat Saber. I know a few people who use that actually as a workout. They put weights on their arms and then they'll play Beat Saber, and after 30 minutes you're sweating. So max difficulty Ring Fit training will kill you in 15 minutes. Oh man, now I want to try it. I've got to try it just to see how long it'll take me to just totally die. So yeah, doing some workouts, doing something to get yourself moving in some way can be very, very helpful. So yeah, I know it's not really a great like full answer, but it really is making those changes and sticking to them if you can. Let's get back to the breakdowns here. So we've retimed our shot. Everything's on 2s and 4s now. At this point, we need to start adding more keys. Yay, we will start adding our breakdowns. Now, when I do this, one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to deal with all of the overlap, all of the dress, the bow, all of this stuff. That's too much information all at once. Because if I do this, it's going to be the face controls, the hair controls, the cloth controls, plus all the body controls. All of this all at once. That does not look like it's going to be fun to animate. That's going to be awful. So I'm going to turn some stuff off. So I don't want to animate the cloth or the hair or even the face right now. I'm just going to kind of break it down like I did before. Just putting in keys on the body and not worrying about the rest. And Danish actually has some great advice there. I recommend not looking at a screen for at least an hour before bed. That's actually really, really good. Blue light from the screens, from any screen, even your phone, even if you put it into like nighttime mode, it helps a little bit, but not much. The light from a screen actually activates the part of your brain that keeps you awake. So if you're looking at a screen, and then go straight to bed, your brain will literally just keep working, keep trying to do something. It'll have a much harder time falling asleep. Make sure to spend at least an hour before going to bed not looking at a screen. So read a book. Just look at the stars. Do something away from the computer. Maybe prep your breakfast for the morning. Do something. If you have like a nighttime like routine, like brush your teeth, get changed, all of that, do something for at least an hour if you can. So that's been very helpful. I actually did that for quite a while to reset my sleep schedule. I would just read a book, and it did make a big difference. You don't notice it at first, but over time your sleep definitely feels more restful than looking at a screen and then going straight to bed. I've kind of fallen out of it, I will admit, because I've started getting ebooks, which, like, I'm usually a traditional book, like paper. I've gotten ebooks, which is so much nicer because I can just store all my books on my phone and read them at any time, which is great until I go to bed and it's like, oh, let's read a book, and I'm looking at a screen, and it's like, oh, I kind of shot myself in the foot there. The great thing about advancing technology, yay! So I kind of need to get back to paper books for that, but even then, just try to get away from the screen for, again, at least an hour. It really makes a big difference. I get from computer to sleep in about 5 minutes. Yeah, I was the same way. Like, I would work on my computer, and I had a couch back there. For anyone who's seen the old streams, you can actually see the couch that used to be there. I would work on my computer, go there, and then fall asleep, and then wake up, and then come back to the computer. So I would have like less than a minute between computer, sleep, and then waking up, and then computer again. Not good. You want a little bit more time than that. Take some time in the morning, get up, brush your teeth, prepare yourself, get changed. Don't just wake up and then go straight to the computer. It's not good for your brain. Okay. So, at this point, we've turned off all the extra controls. The next thing I wanted to make sure is that we don't need to see the dress and the bow and all of this stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on her casual clothing and then just turn off her cloth. Anything that has cloth in it right there. Right there. So what this is going to allow us to do is just go right back to the body mechanics, make sure all of this is working with our breakdowns. Technically, it's going to be, like, we have to add all of this back in, but I'd rather do that than have to fight everything all at once. So it's a little bit of a step back, but in order to work properly and get a good step forward. Now, there is going to be one thing that we're going to have to think about, which is as I animate this, I'm going to select everything, set a key. There you go. At some point, it's going to be hard to tell where were my breakdowns. Where was my actual breakdown versus my actual key? And it's going to be kind of a pain to try and find those. So there's a few different things we can do. We could just write it down. That's what my old method would be. Just write down where we are going to put the breakdown so that when I go to the cloth pass and the hair pass, I can just quickly see easily. To be fair, when I look at them, I'm going to see which keys are missing. But still, it's going to be... I want to know which ones are the breakdowns versus my actual keys. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Maya's bookmark feature. You can find it right here by the timeline. If you click on this, you can just add a bookmark. I'm not going to give it a name. I'll just give it a quick color. Let's just go with the default red right there. And you can see it adds this little line over top of our timeline right there. And I can just create these quick bookmarks for every breakdown that I'm going to add. And this way, as I'm going through, I can very easily just see what the new keys are versus my old keys. And if I have to make a change, I know which ones are going to be the new additions. And then we've got one more over here. And potentially one more at the end. Oh, wait, I mistimed that. So let's get rid of this one. Right click. Or actually, wait, I think it's... Yeah, right click there, and then we'll delete this one. No, that was right. Okay. 63. This one's the wrong one. Okay, there we go. So there are my new breakdowns that I need to put in there. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 breakdowns potentially. This is going to take a little bit. Adding breakdowns like this, it does take time. Some will go a little faster than others, but we'll see how we can kind of speed this up. So at this point, let's actually save the shot. And we can start just breaking it down. Now, there's a few ways you can break things down that will kind of speed up your workflow. One thing I'm not a fan of when you have to do these like small breakdowns here is starting from scratch. So essentially what I could do is I could just go here, set a key, And you'll notice the first 2 frames are exactly the same. They're not changing. And then it changes here, which means that I'm going to have to change every single aspect of the second key here to get it to ease in and all of that stuff. That's a pain. I'm not a fan of that because it makes it, you have to start from nothing. As a beginner, it's a very important thing to learn because you want to pose out and kind of create motion properly. You want to think through every single element, but we can use the computer to help us here. So instead, what I'm going to do is I could use a tween tool. So if you have Animbot or these plugins, essentially I can just use an in-betweener and just kind of hit a button here, and there you go. It puts a breakdown right in the middle, and I can ease in and out however I want. Great. Yay. Now, there's 2 things here. 1, this requires a plugin. Well, what if you don't have a plugin? How do you do this? Well, I'll show you in just a second. 2, when you use this or any method to do this, do not just go done. There you go. Breakdown complete. Because this is going to be a terrible breakdown. This is letting Maya do everything for you and you're doing none of the work. You want to push the breakdowns yourself. This is just a starting point. It's just getting things moving so that we have somewhere to begin. It is not our go-to done, moving on. Sometimes that'll happen, but very rarely. So instead, let's go through and do it the manual way. So let's say we don't have a plugin. We've got this pose and we want to add a breakdown. Well, what we can do is use our graph editor to our advantage. So right now I'm all in step mode, and you can do this for your own blocking. So if you're blocking in step mode and you need to add a breakdown, just go in, take your curves and put them to linear. There you go. Now on frame 3, you can see how everything's moving. I could just set a key. Done. There you go. I have something that I can start my animation with. If you want to ease out a little bit more, I'm going to go to frame 2, middle mouse drag, set a key. Look at that. My curves are easing a little bit more now. We're getting a nice ease out right there. If I want to ease them in, I'll go to frame 4, copy that over, so middle mouse drag. Now my keys are easing in, maybe a little bit more. Go to frame 4 again, middle mouse drag, key. Now they're easing in. There you go. Very quick, easy tween tool just by using linear keys, or you could use any tangent type. But yeah, that's about it. So let's actually do this manually here. So I'm just going to go right in the middle and then set this back into step mode. There we go. Now, at this point, it's just going through and adjusting our spacing. And let's see. First learning my LT doesn't take Python, so no anim tool for me. I was upset. Yeah, it's... Maya LT is kind of a pain because of that Python. But using just the timeline, like honestly, I use the timeline more than anything when I am setting keys like this. I'm just used to it. Like I have Animbot right here. I could literally just use the slider, but I'm used to using the graph editor and the time slider. Okay, so let's break this down a little bit. Now, usually when I'm breaking things down, I like to start from the hips and the feet first, because those are pretty simple, and then I can adjust the spacing elsewhere. So for example, for the feet here, see how this foot just kind of slowly rises up and then speeds up right here? Well, I don't need that foot to move right away. In fact, I want the hips to start moving and then the foot to move. So I'm going to take my foot controls here, and I'm just going to copy frame 1 to frame 3. And now you have the hips starting to move, and then the foot goes. Now, for anyone who's been in these streams, you know I don't like to leave feet just moving or absolutely still. So on this frame, I'll just kind of raise the heel up, maybe pull it over a little bit, and maybe just add a tiny little slide backwards. So we get that kind of pull on the foot. Right there, and then it comes through. But now you really feel that hip leading the action. This is the key to a good breakdown. A good breakdown is not just putting a key in the middle and everything moves, haha. It's making sure that some things don't move, other things start to move, other things drag. You build in contrasting motions, all of this good stuff. So let's go through here. Let's go into the hips. So this is where the graph editor comes in handy as well. So you can just look through here and look at your in-betweens and see what's happening. So right here, I'm noticing that there's no rotate Y. I might add just a little bit of an anticipation there, just to keep them a little bit more alive. Let's look at our translates right here. So once again, we put a key and it's right in the middle. You can see that key, key, key. It's right in that middle point there. That's going to be boring. So let's ease that out just a little bit here. Just a little bit. Now we get that ease out and ease in right there. Just a little bit. And if ever you want to look at your curves and kind of get a better idea, you can always just go into splines, see how that feels, make sure it's a nice smooth curve, and then go back into step mode to make sure it moves correctly. So same thing here. This should probably ease out. I wonder if maybe I could even have it go up a little bit and then swoop through. So it acts as a little anticipation right there. I kind of like that because we get that push of the hip and then the drop. Okay, I'm just watching the knee right now, just making sure that it moves correctly. Let's go through the rest here. So rotate Z or translate Z. Let's actually push that back a little faster here so it eases into the peak. So we took these, and this is a very important thing when you're breaking things down. What makes things feel pose to pose a lot of times is when you have a lot of controls and even a lot of attributes, so translates, rotates, all of this, and they're all doing the same thing. So let me actually draw it out here. Just super quick, so we can visually compare. I should have opened Clip Studio at the beginning, but I woke up late. So let's open this up. Take a sip of water as well. So let's say we have our translate X, translate Y, translate Z. We'll just use those for now. And you've got your first pose, second pose, first pose, second pose, first pose, second pose. So these are your main keys. Now you're going to add a breakdown in the middle. Where are you going to put it? If you just use a tween tool or some sort of plugin, it could put it right in the center on all of them, like this. That's going to be boring. Everything's even. Oh, but with a tween tool, you can ease in and out a little bit more. So we'll put it over here or and there. Yay! It's still boring. Every attribute is moving in the exact same way. And when that goes over across the entire rig, or even just on one control, so the hips and everything just eases out the exact same way, it becomes very boring and mechanical. So essentially what I did was I pushed that spacing. So the translate X eases out. The translate Z eases in. The translate Y, I overshot it. So it's actually doing this and then coming back. Suddenly, that animation is not just the same, everything's moving the exact same way. They're all a little different. This is going to feel organic if you think through it and do it properly. You don't just move them randomly, or else it'll just be weird. But if you think through it and try to think of ways you can adjust these so they're all just a little bit different, you're going to get something really cool. And when you start applying that to all of the controls, so the rotates, and then to the other actual controls on the rig, you're going to start to get some really cool motions in your character. So for example, here, I could take these hips and I could ease those in a little bit right there. But I kind of want to keep those going a little faster right here. So we really feel that hip kind of pushing up right in there and the other side dropping. And then I can maybe push this down a little bit more right there. So we really get that hip drop in there. Compared to the translate X, which is easing out. Sorry, rotate X. Okay, there we go. Now let's select the spine. And for the spine here, there's one more control. I'm going to do all this, and then I'm going to make a quick select set because it's a pain to select the spine. Okay. So for the spine, the big thing that I want is to make sure that the head doesn't pop to the side there. Right there. So let's take our rotate Z and try to pull this back a little bit. So we get something a little bit more like that. I'm looking at the body, not the head. Trying to look at the neck. That's a little too much. Yeah, that's a little better. So now that body is countering what the hips are doing. So we really feel the hips moving. If you look at your space of the spacing here, let's zoom in. Look at how much the hips are moving. Boop. Look at how much the chest is moving and the shoulders. Very little. This creates that counter motion in there. It's not like the whole character is just, let's go back to our favorite Donkey Kong. And it's not just doing this where the whole body is rotating and moving all together. We're getting that disconnect where the hips start to move and then the chest starts to move. Now from the side here, it's kind of the same thing. Let's see if we can just ease that a little bit more. The rotate Y, that's the chest rotation there. Let's kind of ease that in a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then the rotate X. Let's see. Let's ease that. Let the arm lead. Hey, take care, John. Get some rest. Okay. See, this pose here, everything got a little offset. So let's just link them back together here. It doesn't necessarily have to, but it just kind of feels weird that it wouldn't right there. And then let's maybe try to push this rotation up and ease in. Honestly, I don't really need to clean up my curves because if my animation looks good, that's fine. But if I do want to put this on ones later, cleaning up my curves now is just going to make it a little easier later. Okay. There we go. So we've got that. let's do the head motion. The head should be pretty simple. Essentially what I want to do is drag the head a little bit more. Or actually, do I want to lead with the head? No, I'm leading with the hips. So rotate Z. Yeah, that's a little too much. Get a little wiggle there. I just want to keep this still enough that the head doesn't start to drag too much. I can even add just a little bit of drag right there. You can see it's just a tiny little bit. So we get that kind of like lead in where the hips are starting to move and the head wants this drag back just a little. Maybe a little bit of rotate Y as well, where the head drags back the nose. Just kind of we get a little bit of drag in the nose before it swings through. And then the rotate X. Let's just ease that in. Or actually, I wonder if I could do this. So the head kind of overshoots and then comes down right at the beginning. I kind of like that. Might be a little much. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So there's the head. Done. Let's do... At this point, we really just have the arms left. So I feel like the screen left arm is just moving out a little bit too much visually. If we look at the wrist here, see how it's starting to pull away? I kind of want this to have a little bit of a pull in as the body kind of presses into the arm. So we feel that drag, that negative space is just closing up ever so slightly. Right there. As long as the arm doesn't move backwards, that's the important thing. It should move forwards here because it's being pushed by the hips. So we get that, and then it's almost like the hips push the arm out. There we go. So something like that. And then the other arm is working pretty well. The main thing I want to do, so the arm I kind of want to have lead the action a little bit, but it should definitely ease out. Right now it's going to be a little weird if it doesn't. So I'm just going to take these curves, ease that in. Graph editor is your friend for this kind of stuff. Maybe... Okay. Kind of want to add a little bit extra rotation X there so we kind of feel the lower arm go down first. So something like that. I think, let's look at the spacing of the wrist. I wonder if I can extend the arm a little bit more. Right here. So kind of pull out there. So it arcs around a little bit more. And we get a bigger contrast from the elbow going right and then everything else. Let's see, and I'm going to try to clean up my curve here. I had it back here, but the problem is, I don't know if that makes sense. The arm should be extending, not staying tight to the body. Which means, I'm going to try something here. So it comes through. and then pops out and around. No, that's going to feel weird because now the arm's going in, out, in. I want it to keep going out, out, in. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. At this point, I think we should just be able to do the wrist. The fingers, they should be fine. So I'm just going to try to visually add a little bit more drag here. Watch that index finger. Make sure it's dragging nicely. And I'm just kind of visually looking at the shape of the hand right here. Trying to get that nice flow to it. There we go. So get that drag in the finger. There we go. There's that first breakdown. It takes a little bit. Like you have to think through all of your motions there. But once you do, it doesn't take too long to get into place. So now if we look at that beginning is now on 2s. Yay! Only what, 11 more, 12 or 10 more poses to put in? 1, 2, 3, 5, 1, 2, 10 more. Phew. Just a few more. So at this point, it's rinse, repeat. So just keep going, add those breakdowns. Now let's try a different method of adding a breakdown here. So I can take everything, and then once again, we need to add a breakdown. And I, once again, don't like to just set a breakdown from nothing, because if I just hit S to set a key, I'm gonna have to move everything manually, and if I miss something, you're gonna notice when something doesn't move. So I personally like to start from somewhere, and instead of doing it the manual way like we did the last time, let's use a tween machine in Animbot. So if you have a tween tool, you can use something like this. So now everything's moving, great. Now we need to offset things and ease in, ease out all of that stuff. So as I said before, I like to start with the feet. So on this pose here, I'm actually going to favor the previous pose. So I'm going to use the tween tool and just bring that back in here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this foot and I want it to kind of slide. So it's going to raise up a little bit on the heel. Oops, wrong control. Raise up here. And I want it to twist on the toe. Or ball swivel. So get that. So we get that nice push off of the ground there. Maybe I can push it just a little bit more and actually have it slide a little bit as well. I love foot motion. Trying to get that nice feeling of the foot really pushing off of the ground. I think I could maybe push it a little bit more. Yeah. Okay. So there's the foot in place. Let's get the hip. Now the hip is going to Come through. And I could use the tween tool once again. I could take the hips and ease them in just a little bit more, just like that. But I always do like to double check my curves as well, just to make sure that it's working with the entire animation. Like right here, that translate Y, it shouldn't pop out right there. It should ease in slightly and then come out. So something like that. Actually, let's exaggerate this. I'm going to have this push up a little faster, so we really feel that push of the hips. And then on this pose, let's bring this up just a little bit more. So we feel a little bit more energy right in there. I might be able to even exaggerate this a little bit more. So we just get a little bit more of a kick in there. Okay. Go through, just double check. This is where the bookmark is really nice because you can make sure that you're looking at the right spot. Not get lost in your keys. Let's ease this in just a little bit. This one should probably ease out. Look at it from the side view here. Actually, let's push this a little bit. So I want this to kind of push forward. So let's kind of push it in a little bit more here. So we're going to lead with the hips. And get a little bit more of a bend in the body. Okay. There we go. You can see that I'm not sticking close to the original curve, like the original in-between that Maya gave me, or the tween tool gave me a lot of the time. Okay. Rotate X. Sorry, rotate Y, that's the important one. Here. So as she comes through, I really want to drag that back. I'm watching the spacing of the head. As it comes through, really drag that. And then even here, maybe drag it a little bit more. And then pop it over. So we feel that hip right there. If you look at the stomach, right in here, see how you can feel the stomach kick in first? It's pulling in, and then the character overlaps. They're not just standing up straight. You feel that push in the stomach, and then everything goes up. So trying to use this breakdown to build on this animation versus just letting it be, for lack of a better term, bland. Okay. Go through our other curves. At this point, it becomes very much just rinse, repeat. But it needs to be done, so we do it. Okay, which way should the body go here? Drag it a little bit. So I'm looking at the shoulder or the neck right here. It goes left and then goes straight up and then left again. So here I'm going to drag it back so that our spacing eases out continues left and then goes through. Even though you're controlling your graph editor and kind of cleaning things up, you don't want to just do it blindly. It's like, okay, ease in, ease out, ease in, ease out. Haha. I used to do that quite a bit when I was a student. Whereas it's like, I know what the graph editor is supposed to do. It's supposed to ease in and out. So I just take my curves, ease in, ease out, ease in, ease out. Haha, look how dynamic it is. Without actually looking at what I was doing in the viewport, because the curves are what you need. As long as they're good, everything else will fall into place. How wrong I was. You want to really go through and visually look at the changes while you're thinking of the curve. Sometimes it'll line up and do exactly what you think it should do. Other times there's going to be some big changes. Okay. So the body is pretty good there. At this point, let's get the head in place. And I'm going to make sure I select the neck, because I think we have some motion in there going on. And let's ease that neck at the beginning here as well. Okay. This motion here doesn't make too much sense. I'm going to drag that in and just clean up my curve right there. And then my rotate Z. Same thing. Let's clean up that curve. Okay. Now let's do the head here. And the head right now is, there's a little bit of a pop spacing wise. And I might need to adjust my rotate on the spine for it. Specifically the rotate X. Right here. The body starts to really twist. Okay, it might be the hips then. There's a twist that's happening in the body that feels a little weird. Let's see if I can just get it in the head first. Okay, let's look at our rotations. So essentially, as it comes up here on this frame, I need to drag the head down a little bit more. There we go. So really drag that down. It was not quite moving correctly. And this is the one thing when you're adding breakdowns, is you're going to have to change some of the poses you had before. That's totally natural. What looked good on 3s and 4s suddenly might not look quite right when you put it on 2s. And likewise, when you go into splines, things that looked perfect and just right are going to feel a little strange. Okay, there we go. Let's do the arms now. So the back arm here is pretty good. Like honestly, if it's splining kind of the way it is, it's fine. I just need to push the arc of the wrist. See how the wrist goes in kind of this straight line here? Actually, let me save, and then I'll draw it out. Okay. So let's bring in our drawing tool and our layer manager, and let's just draw this in. So what's happening right now is that the wrist, let's track the top edge right here, is coming through, and we're losing the arc. right there. Oops. So zoom in right there. See how it comes through and then just dies right there? That's our breakdown. Not working too great. So essentially what we want to do is just round this out. And this is where I like to use something like a grease pencil tool, because you can just literally draw where you want it to be. So I want it to be, see, it goes out, around, and then down, like that. That's where the arm pose should be. Oop, not on that frame, this frame, right there. Boop. Boop. So on this frame, you can see that hand is quite a ways from where we should want it. And Sunny Boy, hey, how's it going? My back is doing well. It's pretty much back to normal. Haha. It's just one of those weird things that it just sprains, pops a little bit, and then I have to just let it rest for a while. I could actually maybe ease that in just a little bit less, so we feel a little bit more of a pose change there. Although, to be fair, we're going to be putting a breakdown here as well. So let's come through here, and then this hand pose, I'm just going to rotate it a little bit more, so we feel a little bit more spin right at the end there. It's going to create that feeling of overlap. And then watch the spacing of the knuckle. It goes through, and then right here it kind of flattens out. So once again, tracking your visual spacing here can be very nice with a grease pencil tool. Right there. I think we can maybe exaggerate a little bit more of that arc. Okay. So with that hand is pretty much done. Not too much to change there. Now we do the other hand, and essentially this hand, I want to really push that arc in there. So let's draw this out. You have the hand pose here. Right there. Then the hand pose here. And right now, you can see how they just kind of line up with each other. Well, this hand pose here can be used to exaggerate that arc of motion, because we're going from all the way over here, right through, and then it just stops, and then starts to pull through again. Let's push that arc a little bit. It doesn't need to just stop dead right here. So let's look at our curve, see how we can push things naturally. So what I mean by pushing things naturally is looking at our graph editor, seeing where our curves are taking us. So this is actually weird here. That should not stop completely. So let's tweak that a little bit. This should almost be back here. I'll have to adjust the hair, but that's fine. Essentially, a lot of this cleanup that I'm doing here is going to make it easier when we get into the spline phase, if we do decide to spline this shot out. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm looking at that elbow. The arc that it goes through feels decent. I can maybe push the spacing, but what I'm really want to push is the elbow here. So as it comes through, I want to either extend it out here, which that's going to feel a little weird, or try to extend it out here so it goes out and then starts to pull in. I think my best bet is going to be to extend it out here a little bit and then let it drag more this way. So what essentially that's doing is, if you look at the posing now, look how much further that hand goes out. So it's rounding that arc. It's not turning, going down, and then pulling in. So just a little bit, maybe a little less. And then I can use the hand to help push that a little bit. So we get that twist. And maybe push this hand pose a little bit more down. Okay, it's starting to feel a little even, which I'm not a fan of. So let's bring this back up just a tad here. The big thing I'm looking for is visual contrast. I want the hand to not feel like it's just doing this and it's locked off. I want to feel a little bit of overlap, a little bit of extra motion in there. I can maybe take this arm. Let's take our, I think it was rotate Z. Or rotate Y. Yeah, let's take our rotate Y and bring it back a little bit. So essentially what I'm doing is, look at where the hand pose used to be. See how the fingers line up right here? And then on this pose, they line up in the same spot. Now, between here, here, and here, all three poses are a little different. One's a little more screen left, one's more screen right, one's in between the two. So it creates a little bit of change throughout that section. We're not feeling like we're hitting a wall and kind of sticking on one pose. Okay. That should be it there. So let's add our next breakdown. And I'm just going to use the tween tool to put it right in the middle. There we go. And Tiki, bonjour, ça va bien? Let's see. So once again, start with the feet. And Hyodoko, thank you so much for the follow. I know I don't say thanks enough to everyone who follows. I used to try and do that more often, but then I get so easily distracted. I would just lose track of what I was saying on streams all the time, which was not great when you're doing a demo. Okay, so right here, this foot is definitely, we don't want it to start pushing down on the ground before it's even touched the ground. So let's zero that out and try to push the arc of the foot here. It's going to keep going up, and we'll just kind of rotate it down slightly and maybe have it reach towards the ground. So we get something a little bit more like this. I do want that contact to feel pretty light. Right now it feels a little too light though. So I think I'm going to try and bring this foot back just a little bit here. So we get a little bit more variation in that spacing. Okay. We'll go with that for now. It's a little soft, but I actually do want it to feel soft. That's the big thing. If it feels too sharp, it's going to feel bouncy in a weird way. There we go. It should move fast and then just be this nice light tap before she pushes forward again. I'm glad you think the stream is fun. I enjoy it. It's fun to just animate and share the process. I really enjoy it. And hopefully people get to learn from it and kind of see what goes into it. Especially anyone who's new to animation and kind of wants to start doing it. What I really want to show is the full process, and how animation, I don't want to make this sound like a bad thing, but animation is not easy. It is a very tricky thing, and there's a lot of like pitfalls, ups and downs, and even someone like I've been animating for 10 years now ish. Like that's starting like from when I first started learning animation, the very first bouncing ball. It's been about 10 years. And 10 years. And even now I make mistakes. I will do something and it doesn't work out. I will work on something and Maya will crash. That never really goes away. And when you are animating, it doesn't make you a bad animator. It doesn't make you a failure if things go wrong. That's part of being an animator, is just having to go, why me? Why did it crash? Why did I make that stupid mistake? And just pushing through it. I know for a long time when I was learning how to animate, I would see what everyone else was doing, and I would see these animators who were just doing this amazing work. It was just gorgeous to look at their work. And I would look at my own and it's like, I'm struggling, I'm making mistakes, it feels like I'm failing more than I'm succeeding. And the big thing is that all the best animators are doing the same thing. They are failing more than they succeed. The only difference is that when they post their work, all we see is the final success. And at least to me, that's a very important thing to keep in mind as an artist, is that you're going to have failures. That's just part of it. What's important is that we push through them to find the success afterwards. And everyone does that. It's the same thing with like actual art when you see people drawing. For a long time, I was always so self-conscious about my drawing skill, which I'm not great at drawing. I do mostly doodles. But I was always like, why can't I get this right? I'm always undoing, I'm always erasing, I'm always undoing. And my proportions are always off. And then I started watching actual artists streaming while they're drawing. And the big thing that you'll notice with all of these great artists that like I follow artists that I just love their work, and I would watch them work and they're undoing and they're erasing, and then they'll draw a head and move everything, and then suddenly they'll take the head and scale it down and twist it around. They didn't get it perfect the first time. They didn't draw it like just done and perfect. Most of them make tweaks throughout the animation. They're constantly adjusting things, and that's okay. That's totally normal. So I want to kind of showcase that on the animation side here, is that we make mistakes. There's a lot of undoing. There's a lot of going through and trying to get things to work. Like right here, I'm just going back and forth and I'm trying to get the hip to feel connected to the leg. And essentially what I want is that right now the screen left hip is going to rotate forward, and it shouldn't rotate forward before this foot touches the ground. It could, but if I wait until it touches the ground, then rotate the hip, that'll give the feeling that the foot touches the ground and pushes that hip forward. It creates that nice connection there. So it makes a little weird pop in my graph editor, but visually it's going to feel a little bit more connected. So just trying to get that in there. See, I think that's the main struggle with animation, comparing yourself to everyone else. Yeah, it definitely. I still struggle with that. I'll see people do a shot on, like, just, I'll be scrolling through Twitter or something and I'll see someone's shot and it's like, oh man, it's just so good. How do they do it? Where do they come up with such good ideas? And you can very easily fall into that well of, I guess you can say, jealousy. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's okay to kind of get inspired by what other people are doing. But when it starts to affect our own self-image, that we have to be very careful of. Okay, so here the spine, I definitely want that to ease in. Right now it's just kind of not working great. So I really want that snap upwards. Let's exaggerate that a lot more. Now this is actually something that you will notice when you start adding more in-betweens. When we had less in-betweens, we didn't have to push things quite as far in a lot of different ways. So for example, the spine here, it didn't come up quite as fast. Now that I added that in-between, I'm exaggerating that even more, so that we really feel that spine pop upwards and then really pushing that ease into the top there. I'm exaggerating it even more. The reason for this is if you kind of leave it at, if I left it at the way it was before, everything's going to feel even and mushy. It's just going to feel soft and bland. So I'm going to try and exaggerate my spacing here more than I had before. And the same thing, if I went into splines, I would do the same thing where I would try to exaggerate everything just a little bit more. Because we have the extra keys to play with, we can push things to be a little bit more dynamic. Let's not push that so far there. Okay. Let's see. This week I was livid. I lost 2 hours because my computer crashed, so no Maya last minute backup. Oh no. And Maya actually decided for this specific morning to simply disable the autosave feature. No. The one day my computer freezes, a setting so important. That I've had situations like that you get, well, that anger of just like, why didn't I save at least? And then why did the computer choose now to crash? Oh, I've lost so much work over the years. It's just sad, really. But it's part of it, unfortunately. And that just goes with any, like, working on computers. Losing work and just having to go, well, let's start over. It never gets easier, though. I will put it that way. I remember when I was doing some sculpting not that long ago, I ended up losing about 4 hours worth of work. For some reason, I was sculpting in ZBrush, and when I went to save, it didn't save properly. It just saved the wrong tool, I think it was. So all of the work I did for 4 hours gone. It's like, okay, well, just let's do it again. So I did it again, another 4 hours. I went to save, and the save corrupted itself. So I lost 4 hours again. And then I had to start again. Over. That was a sad day. That's one of those days where it's just like, I'm just gonna have some ice cream. I'm just gonna like, this is a me day now. So here I'm just trying to push the neck pose so we really get a nice whipping motion up through there. There we go. So once again, because we're adding those extra keys, we can exaggerate certain moments a little bit more. Okay. There we go. So I'm just looking at the visual spacing through that section. Okay. Now the arm. Look at the arm. Ugh. This is where Maya breakdowns, they just suck sometimes. So if we look at the spacing of the hand here, we've got our spacing going through. Great. And then look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Why, Maya? Why? Why are you putting it over here? And then over here. So, let's see. Michael Jordan. Aw, I love that emote. So good. Keanu Reeves, that whole like, you're brilliant. No, you're brilliant. It's just, or was it brilliant? No, beautiful. Was it beautiful? Oh, now I can't remember. There's a whole song about it. For anyone who doesn't know, let me see if I can find it here. There's this wonderful song that I love to listen to whenever I just need a smile on my face. Let's see. Breathtaking, breathtaking. Why did I forget it was breathtaking? It's such a beautiful phrase. Breathtaking. You're breathtaking. There you go. I love that song. It's such a nice, just little happy song. Let's see. I have a hopefully super quick question. I am wanting a video player that can export image sequences. I read that you had said that QuickTime Pro can do this, but do you know if either Keyframe MP or Keyframe Pro can do it as well? They seem like programs that have more functions than QuickTime Pro. I don't think so. What you can do is check out DaVinci Resolve. I believe it should be able to Resolve. There you go. It's a free video editing software, so similar to Adobe Premiere. Totally free though. It's really good. I actually don't use it because I do have Premiere. For a lot of the projects I use, I need that because everyone else uses it. But check that out. That should be able to export an image sequence, I believe. And again, totally free, which is really nice. Have I seen the PBS Bob Ross video? I don't think I have. I love Bob Ross though. Okay, nice. Agathia, thank you so much. So there we go, confirmation. It can do videos, image sequences there. Yeah, I believe if you go into the export settings, there should be image sequences. If not, I could be wrong there. If you don't have that, what else does image sequences? Keyframe and MP can export as MP4, but not image sequences. QuickTime Pro could do it. QuickTime Pro 7. But QuickTime Pro 7 is like it's discontinued. No one really uses it anymore. So it's kind of hard to find. It's also slow. Okay. So this pose needs to be like around here. Not over there. Okay. So let's pose out this arm. You'll notice that when I'm posing out the arms, I very rarely use the graph editor like I do with the others poses. With the spine and the hips, I use a lot of the graph editor. I'm going in there constantly. But with the hand, I tend to pose it out a lot more manually. The big reason for that is it just allows me to get a little bit more control over a lot of things. Okay. So there spatially is the best place for that motion. But visually, we're going to get a pop. Is that a bad thing? No. Now, one thing I could do is I could take the clavicle control here and let's push this. So as she swings her arm forward, I really want to push that arm kind of forward here. And this is going to be hard to see. Okay, comes through. And then here, let's push this arm a little bit more screen left. Sorry, screen right. So essentially the wrist at this point should almost always be moving screen right. More like that. There we go. Nice clean arc through there. Now, what I could also do is get some offset here. So you can see how the hand and the wrist both come down here. Let's see if I can create a contrasting action where I have the hand still going up and then the wrist go through. Nah, don't like it. The reason being it breaks the flow onto the next segment. So that should be pretty good there. Let's see. I think I missed a question up above. Let me see then. Ice cream fixes a lot. Yes, it does. And Jer Adam, that's a good way of looking at it. Losing 4 hours of work, it is frustrating, but it is a good way to learn. And that's the way I was looking at it because I was doing a workshop for the sculpting and it's like, well, that's 4 more hours of practice that I get to do. So that's good. And I already knew what I wanted, so I could do it better, hopefully. Try to learn from my mistakes. And each time I got better and better. So let's see. Do you ever use the motion trail? Yeah, but I personally like the the grease pencil tool, just because I can draw the arc I want and just put it there, and it doesn't auto update. As much as auto updating is really nice in a lot of ways, the problem is that it makes it hard to see where you were and what you are in comparison. It's always just the new pose, and because of that, it's very easy to start pushing your arcs to a point that they're not even recognizable from the arc that you originally had or wanted. So I like it. I will use it for certain things, but for a quick little arc change like this that I was dealing with, I would much rather just get it through manually. Now here, I definitely have to push the arm poses a lot more. I want this hand motion to be nice and quick right in here. And what's happening right now is everything's just easing in very slowly. So I'm going to probably restructure my arm motion here. The change between here and here should be a little bit bigger. I'm going to bring that back out. So I want this to feel nice and fast, which means that this is going to have to be pulled out a little bit. And then maybe this raised up a little bit here. A little bit more up there. And there we go. And then let's drag the wrist here just a bit. I wonder if I could lead with the wrist. So it's almost like she's doing this with her hand. How would that feel? It could make it a little different because throughout the whole shot, she's kind of dragging her hands through. It might make it just a little bit more unique in that segment. We'll see how it feels. Okay. Okay, to export an image sequence in Keyframe Pro, go to Video, Snapshot, All Frames. Oh, cool. So if you have Keyframe Pro, Video, Snapshot. Oh, there you go. All frames. There you go. So Keyframe Pro. This is the Pro version, though. Not the free version, is it? That's something to keep in mind. Let's see. I couldn't for the life of me figure out how to export JPEG sequences in Resolve last time I tried. I'll have to look that up. See, when I make a splash animation, I think of it more fun. I get to think up instead of here's 100 droplets and ripples. I have to, yeah, it's. I've always wanted to do effects animation, especially in 2D. It's just so cool. Last Airbender was the one that really made me want to do that. But I don't have the mind for it, unfortunately. Let's add a little bit more bend into the wrist here. Actually, no, because there's going to be a dress here that's going to get in the way. Disney Plus is amazing. Already binging the original DuckTales. Nice. I heard it wasn't really good. The original DuckTales? The original DuckTales is awesome. There's definitely some like meh episodes, but that's like any show from that time. The fun part, at least for me, watching like the old DuckTales and like Tailspin and all of that, is when you can start noticing the different studios, because there's a Japanese studio, an Australian studio, an American studio, and a French studio. that all work on DuckTales and all of those old 90s Disney cartoons. And you can tell which studio does which episode just by the art style. And a lot of times Cameron and I, when we're watching these old shows, we're just going to have like a little bit of a competition. Not a competition, but like, okay, who can guess which studio it is? And then we'll watch the credits at the end. It's like, yeah, we got it. It's an Australian studio. Australian studio, by the way, they're the ones that did some of the best episodes. The animation, oh, just amazing. Gotta love the old NU version of DuckTales. Yeah, the new DuckTales I really enjoy. I actually haven't finished it yet, which is kind of sad. I do want to finish it at some point. But it's really good. Okay, let's get another breakdown here. I want to get at least 2 more breakdowns before the end of the stream here. And then next stream we can finish the last half. Okay. So here, we definitely want this foot to hit the ground a little bit harder than it is right now. That foot is just easing in too much. So I want to really get that foot to kick out. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it land on the toes. Let's see. Okay. Land on the toes. Maybe a little bit of the edge of the foot. Let's rotate that ankle, get a clean line through there. And then slide the foot ever so slightly backwards. So as it hits, we feel that slide in. I love foot animation. Like trying to get that nice feeling of the foot coming through and hitting the ground and sliding into place versus just gluing into place. At least to me, it's like that. That's where you get a lot of personality in your characters. Okay, we'll go with that for now. Feels a little soft, but that's fine for now. This motion back here definitely feels too soft though. That contact right through there. This needs to hit harder. So this is our breakdown that we just added. See how right now that foot just lands and is just soft? I want that to hit. So it hits, and then on this frame, takes the weight and then pushes up. And now suddenly that feels better. Let's see, is it a walk cycle? No, this is just a dance. But the same foot motions would apply for a walk cycle. Okay, here I'm watching the heel and I'm noticing that the heel kind of pops up right there. So I can raise this foot a little higher. And that's going to help push the arc and make this a little bit more dynamic. Essentially what we're doing... Oops, did I move the wrong control? Yeah, I did. Essentially what we're doing by doing this is pushing the silhouette value of the foot. So see how it gets longer here? The heel goes up, but the toes stay about the same level. That makes a nice visual contrast in there. So it doesn't feel like it's just doing this the whole time, it's doing this. Okay. Airbender is so good. I love Last Airbender. Let's see, do I have a preference on whether to use JPEGs or TIFFs? I use JPEGs, personally. They're just a little bit more accessible and smaller file size. For image sequences, unless I'm doing an image sequence for an effect, like an actual visual effect in the scene, it's usually just for reference and a small file size that's easy to open, easy to close. That's all I want. You don't have to worry about getting a ton of like super high res detail. If I need the high res detail, I'll just look at the original video file and scrub through there for any little really like fine detail stuff. Love this Final Fantasy track. I love Final Fantasy music. Nobuo Uematsu is such a wonderful composer. The thing is, I've never played a Final Fantasy game other than Final Fantasy 1, I believe. That's the only Final Fantasy game I've ever played. And then I guess you could kind of count like Kingdom Hearts. Like that, it kind of falls into a Final Fantasy game. Not really. I've never even played Final Fantasy 7, which is sad because I love Cloud and Sephiroth and like those characters. I love the concept of Final Fantasy. I'll put it that way. But yeah, it's one day I would love to get into those games. Okay. So we're getting a little bit of a knee pop here. Right there. I'm not sure if that's too much of an issue. I do want to exaggerate the hips. So you see on this frame, I'm stretching the legs out. That's fine. At least for now, I'm okay with that. Because I really want to sell this bouncing ball feeling in the hips that hold and swoop through. And Mally, I'm glad you like the stream. Let's see. It's Bob Ross 3D animating. I just have to get my hair to be a little poofier. And then just talk really, really softly. And we have to put some phthalo blue in here. Happy little accidents. I love Bob Ross. I really do. I never grew up with it. I only ever started watching it when it went up on Twitch. And I just fell in love with it. I always heard people talk about it before. And it's like, okay, guy who paints. I can see the appeal to that. It must be really relaxing. And then I actually watched a few episodes on Twitch and I got hooked. And I just like listened in and just had it playing in the background for like a day. It was so nice. Such a pleasant person to listen to. Okay, so here I want to try and get the hips to really feel like they're connecting with the legs. So if I lead here, like this way, that's going to put pressure up into that hip too early. Because this foot is contacting the ground, that's the one that's going to push up into that hip and create that rotation. If it contacts too soon, we lose that weight. So if I hold this down a little bit more and then push it up right here, suddenly you feel that rotation kick in and that gets that nice connection right in there. So this is one of those things that I always try to look for in my shots, is these ways that we can push the connection between the hips and the legs and really get those to feel like they're not just moving on their own and doing their own thing, totally unrelated. They should feel connected in some way. Yeah, the Bob Ross channel on Twitch is fantastic. I'm waiting to experience Final Fantasy VII for the first time on the PS5. Me too. I really want to play that. I've heard really good things about it. I have some friends who played the original, and like they talked about the remake and said it was really good. So it's like, I'm excited. I hope it's gonna be a really good experience. Okay. We've got that. Let's get the body in here. Now, I did realize that I'm kind of forgetting the clavicles a lot of the time through this. To be fair, clavicles for this kind of stuff isn't going to be huge, at least for not the motion that I have. But I will do a quick clavicle pass right after this just to make sure that things aren't looking too boring. Always good to double check. Okay, here I'm watching the body. The body is moving forward, forward, and then down. I feel like I could drag this a little bit more here. Yeah. Okay. Then rotate Z. Ease this here. And then let it come down when she hits. Oh, wait. What's going on? Something's definitely not right there. So always look at your shot from multiple angles. She's coming down, and right here, her spine is bending the wrong way. Should probably be a little bit more like that. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Let's see. My animation class watched... Wait, where'd it go? There you go. My animation class watched Bob Ross when they were streaming him on Twitch on the projector in our class. Nice. That's a good way to just zen, just really make everyone calm and collected. That's really nice. I just got a remake a while back, just haven't gotten to it. Oh, I know that gaming backlog. Mine is building. There's so many games in that backlog right now. It's terrible. Half-finished games. If I start watching that, I lose the whole day. It draws me in and I can't stop watching. Same. It's one of those things that you can just put in the background. It's just so peaceful. I just love it. Okay, I want to really overlap the head here. Then as it comes down, I kind of like this. There's a little pop in the head right here. I kind of like it. It kind of creates a little bit of a swoop with the nose and then the drag right there. Like technically it shouldn't happen, but I like the feeling that it creates. Let's see. I'm curious, layer manager used to doing what? This is for my grease pencil tool. So right here, I've got my grease pencil. Let's see, you can see it right there. All these drawings. This is for the blue pencil plugin, and it's basically a more powerful grease pencil tool, which is really nice. I like the grease pencil tool. So for me, it works really nicely to be able to just have that extra control, and you have layers and all of that stuff. Okay, let's push this arm. I wonder if I can change my rotations here. Just because this is going to create a weird wiggle if I was to spline this out. So if I just clean this up, visually we don't really see a difference in the animation. And now I know that I'm not going to get a wiggle. Done. Always look for little moments like that where, like, technically it's going to like change your animation quite a bit, but visually it doesn't do much. Like this whole section here, why does it go down and then up here? I could just simplify this. So it goes through, up. Let's bring this down a little bit more here and just create a nice clean curve. And even here, like, does it need to go down then up again? Let's see. I take this and drag this out. Let's look at it from the side. So it comes back. Right here, it should overshoot. And then drag. Drag some more. Drag some more. And then here. Okay, that's fine. There, I'm starting to get a little gimbal, but that's fine. So I can essentially just do this. There we go. Look at that curve. Nice and smooth now. Like, it's still got a little bump right there, but compared to what it was before, it's much cleaner. And visually in my shot, it's not that different. You don't have to do this. I will say that right now. The graph editor is not a be-all, end-all. It is not, well, it has to be absolutely perfect and perfectly smooth. If your animation looks better without a perfectly smooth graph, totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. You want the animation to be the important thing, not the graph editor. The graph editor is just a tool. With that said, if we can make it smooth, like right here, I just smoothed out that whole transition there, and it doesn't make a huge difference, why not? Why not try to smooth that out so that you don't get any weird wiggles or jiggles or anything like that? So just something to watch out for in your shots. Okay. So we've got that. Last arm here comes up. And this should ease a little bit more in. So I want that elbow to really ease in there. So same thing here. Why is this elbow like popping out in this weird way? I'm assuming I have a gimbal lock. Not too bad. Okay. Let's go back to what I had. Okay. There we go. Rotates around. Boom. Now the elbow, I need to choose when I want to overlap it. So does the arm stay straighter the whole time? So does it do this and then it whips in and stops? I think that's probably what I'm going to go with. Maybe not. Or do I start to bend it in much more? So it just whips in. I'll have to change the rotation of the arm here. So we just get that whipping motion right through there. I think that's probably what I'm going to go with. Something like that. And then let's ease in a little bit more there. So it doesn't feel like she just karate chops her neck and it hits something. Let's see. So that's pretty good. Now what I can do here as well is for this one frame, I'm just going to extend the fingers. Normally I'm not a huge, like, I don't do this too often because fingers don't overlap very much. I talked about this in yesterday's stream. Fingers have a very specific way of moving because of the tendons built in. But on this frame, just to push the graphical shape, I want to extend them out so we get that straight and then they curl back in. And let's actually push the wrist pose here just a little bit as well. So we just get a little bit more interesting wrist pose. And let's not have that tip of the finger curl there. I want a straight, just right through. Okay, something like that. I feel like the hip is a little soft right in here. So as it pushes up, it's losing that bounce in there. So I'm gonna just take my translate Y and let's ease it in a little bit more and push that bounce to be right through here. So this is where the Animbot plugin really helps. You can just use the ease tool right in here. Ease that out. So essentially what I want is keep it lower there and then pop it up. Right there. Actually, maybe here. So just keep it lower at the beginning. I wonder if I can even push it so it keeps going down here. Yeah, let's try that. And then it comes up. Let's ease this in just a little bit more. And dip. Just a little bit more. Okay. Do you animate the main control, the one on the ground, so that when the character turns? No, I almost never touch that. I always try to push the what's the word I'm looking for? I'll just leave that alone and I'll just move everything else instead. The layout control is used typically to move the character globally, so if I have to reposition them on screen, or if I need to animate them in a video game engine, in which case you don't want to animate it in Maya here because it'll mess up the game engine. So you almost never move it. And do I have a record demo on how to make a cycle in place? Yes. If you go into the stream and do a search for treadmill walk, I did a demo on how to take a cycle and take a walk cycle that's moving forward and make it into a treadmill cycle, and vice versa. How to take a treadmill cycle and make it into a forward cycle very easily. So yeah, just do a search for treadmill in the stream videos. Okay, I think that's a little better right there. Let's add one more breakdown right here. Yeah, there you go, A to the J. Always with the links A to the J. If ever you need a link, just ask A to the J, he's got it. Okay, this foot should definitely favor the next pose. Now here, I want to make sure that the ankle actually rolls here a little bit. So we feel that connection between the foot and the ankle here. They shouldn't feel locked in place. So you feel that weight shift moving through the foot. Oh, nice. You shared that link. That's awesome. Okay. Now, this foot here, the main thing I need to make sure is that that weight pushes down. So it comes down here, and then it's pushing up a little fast right now. Which rotation translates that? So it kind of, I'm not feeling the weight pushing through on here. So I think I'm going to push it down just a little bit more here. And then ease out. Push forward, and then let's ease out here. So we really feel that push in there. I also have to watch my spacing right here. That foot is feeling very linear as it's coming down. I think let's take that foot roll, move that up, and move this back ever so slightly. Oh, that would do it. Look at that foot from the side. See how it just stops? Going back, and then straight down. That's going to kill that foot motion. That's better. Always double check your shots from multiple views. It still feels a little soft, but at least for now, it's not bad. I think essentially what I need to do is push this one lower. So let it hit the ground a little harder. Just a little bit. So let's see, we're on this breakdown right here. We just got the feet in place. Pushing off the ground there. Let's get the hips in place now. So the translates are going to be very important here. Especially that X, because the character is starting to push forward and we want that to ease out just a little bit here. So comes in and then speeds up as it goes through. Right now it's kind of popping a little bit right there. Translate Y. I can probably exaggerate this if I want to sell the weight of the character. So she comes through here, comes down. Let's push that down a little bit more. So we really feel that weight shift in there, and let's ease that in right here. So we feel that drop a little bit more. Translate Z. Let's just ease this. A little bit more right there. Let's push that rotate X a little bit. Make sure the character feels right from this view as well. Okay, that feels good. There's a little wiggle right in here. We'll fix that as we go. And the rotate Z. So that's that hip motion right there. We want it to feel it in here. That's definitely good. Then here, it shouldn't slow down and then speed up here. If anything, it should ease in. Right there. As the weight is being pushed down in, or pushed into that hip there. Okay. So, got that. Let's do the spine. Let's see, rotate X. The body, the arm was swinging across. At this point, it'll probably still favor that side before the body starts to swing through. So just kind of to explain what I'm doing here is I'm talking my way through a lot of this. I'm trying to think through, okay, what's going to happen? Why is it happening? What should happen? And I'm trying to not just move things for the sake of moving it just because. I want to really think my way through. Why is it doing what it's doing? Should it be doing what it's doing? How can I make it feel better? Visually, what's happening and how can I use that to make things more dynamic? So at no point here am I just going into autopilot and just moving things for the sake of moving because, well, I'm an animator and that's my job. I move things. I used to do that when I was a student. I would get into the zone where it's just like, okay, I'm going to clean up my curves. And I would essentially just not really pay attention to what I'm doing and just start moving things because, well, that's what we do. We move things and we try to make things more like just interesting, but not really thinking of why I was doing it. And I really fell into a lot of issues with all of that. Especially like class 2. I think that's when I really noticed. By the end of class 2, I noticed that my workflow was not good. I was fighting Maya and fighting my own progress more than anything. I wasn't helping myself. So, trying to learn these like little tips and tricks, or I wouldn't even say that. It's not even tips and tricks. It's just being mindful of what you're doing. Always thinking of, okay, why am I doing this? Could I be doing something different? And how can I improve this? I'm getting a tangent here in the leg, but I don't really care because she's going to be wearing a dress. So we're not going to see that here. Okay. Let's get into this in between right here. So right here, essentially the upper arm is just going to ease in. There's not going to be too much to talk about there. Just ease that in. Something like that. Okay. I wonder if I can do this. How's it going to affect the shot? Not much. Perfect. So I can just ease in here a little bit more. And that way I don't get a weird little wobble in the curve, which doesn't really make sense. If your arm is rotating in one direction, why would it change direction? Again, it's thinking through your curves and thinking, okay, why is it doing this? Should it be doing that? Can I make it better or smoother just by a few small adjustments there? Okay, so we've got that. The big thing is going to be the elbow. That's what's really going to sell this motion here. So let's push that a little bit more. I think essentially I just want to ease this in a little bit. Yeah, just like that. And then let's do the wrist. We can add a little overlap to the wrist. So I'm just going to drag that back here. Add a little bit more drag there. Try to get that nice clean line along the top of the arm. As it comes through, drag that and then overlap it right here. So we just feel a little bit of that twist in the wrist. And then maybe even a little overlap here where it comes up a little bit higher. Just a little bit. So something like that. Okay, and I don't think I did the head. Okay. Why is the rotate X doing this? Let's think this through. Rotate X is the up and down. So right now it's dragging up. So up, the up direction means that the head is angling down. So here, this was on purpose. I wanted the head to kind of dip down, then it drags, good. So it should drag back. And then here, should it drag some more? Should be more like this. Probably. Because it doesn't make sense that her head would snap forward and then back. To be fair, it's not a huge issue as long as visually it looks good. But I can probably push it so that the rotate Y is a little bit more exaggerated right here. Yeah, so see how that was holding and then it snaps as well? So I was getting two snaps in the rotate X and the rotate Y to compensate for each other in a weird way. So I can just exaggerate this. And now both curves are smoother, which means that if I went into splines, there's less chance of having some weird little wiggle. Okay, let's ease that a little bit more here. So by cleaning up my curves, I just make sure that things will run a little bit better later. Okay. So we've got that. So the whole beginning should be pretty much done at this point. The hand motion here is a little much. Right there. Okay. I feel like right here, this hand, it kind of hovers a little bit too much. So it's just kind of constantly moving really slowly. I think I can hit it a little harder right through here. So essentially it comes to a bit more of a stop. Let's see if I can drag that. No, I do like it bleeding a little bit more. Let's see if we can exaggerate the wrist overlap here. So we really feel that the arm stopping, but the wrist continuing through. And then dragging the hand. It's almost like the wrist stops, the hand keeps going, and then that motion is what drags the wrist back down again. Okay, we'll see how that feels. It might feel weird. Okay. So I think with that, let's do a play blast because we haven't play blasted yet. And we're going to compare how this feels compared to the original animation. And where's my brother? He's been super busy lately. So ideally he'll be coming back to stream in the near future. But he's actually taking a 2D animation workshop, just testing some workshops out for Animation Mentor, which is nice because he also gets the chance to animate some more in 2D, which he always likes to do. But because of that, it's taking a lot of his spare time. And unfortunately, that means can't really jump into a Twitch stream for 3 hours. But hopefully he'll be back in the near future. And we'll probably be able to do a few more 2D animation streams as well in the near future, because now he has Toon Boom Harmony, which is really nice. Okay, so let's play blast this. And see what we've got. So let's just look at one at a time. And let's see. Okay, so definitely feels a lot smoother at the beginning. I'm not a fan of that hand motion dragging down, looking at its speed. It feels weird. I think I'd rather have it hold and then drop. It's not bad, but it just kind of, I don't know, it feels a little strange. But overall, the motion is feeling good. It feels like there's weight. The hips definitely feel like we get a little bit of the jump right at the beginning. It doesn't feel like you're just floating up, which is good. The arcs feel good. I'm getting a little bit of a visual pop on the arm right through here, but I'm not going to worry about that because she is wearing a dress, so that's going to change a lot right there. The hair overlap is definitely going to need some more in-betweens, but overall that's working pretty well. So yeah. And actually I need to push the clavicle as well. I just noticed I'm actually getting a clavicle pop right here at the end, which that's going to need a lot of work. Let's see. So yeah, at this point is just keep going with it. So just to compare what we had before, this is the dress she's going to have in the sleeves. So this is why I'm not worried too much about the hands right now and the arms. But you can see this shot is on 2s and 4s. Everything is either on a 2 or a 4. And we're just breaking it down so that everything is on 2s. What we had before was this shot, or actually, where's the frame range? Did I change my frame range here? Yeah, I did. Okay. So this shot here is on 2s, 3s, and 4s. So there's a range of keys. Now, like I said at the beginning of the stream, is this bad? No, it's just stylistic. And I could literally just keep this here and I'm done. But if you do want to start breaking things down on 2s, we just need to make sure everything's either on 2s or 4s. And then from there, take our 4s and bring them down to 2s. And that's what we're doing now. And you can see at the beginning here, we're starting to get that little bit more of a smooth motion in there. It's just feeling a little bit more fluid. Now, again, is that better? No, it's just stylistically different. Let's actually compare both together. I know it's going to be a little different because of the dress, but if we kind of look at both of them here at that beginning section, is one better than the other? No, just different. It has a different feeling to it. And that's the important thing to a shot like this is, what feeling do you want to give the audience? What do you want the audience to feel as they see this? And does it match the rest of the feeling of your film? So if you're working on a film, you want to make sure your shot matches the feeling of another animator's shot and doesn't feel completely separate or like disjointed.